Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dychronic, your host on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at these Xur's, inventories, randomals, and my recommendation for August 27th, 2021. Today is actually a very special day because the Xur is actually selling and giving things that he has never ever sold before. And I think I may have missed it in a twab, but let's get into it. First up, you can find them in the tower, so head into the top left section of the hangar. You can find them right here next to this railing. And this is what he's selling. This looks literally just like the gunsmith and Ada's set of different things that are available, but from what I remember, this is not what they're actually selling. Keeping in mind, I'm currently on my Titan, so I do see the Titan sets and stats and stuff, and the Hunters and Warlocks will have different ones. First up today, we have the exotic weapon, the Tractor Cannon. A weapon that's actually pretty good. In PvE, you can weaken enemies very easily with this weapon. Also does an okay amount of damage, but definitely not as much as special ammo weapons. Definitely not as much as other heavy weapons. Definitely for the effect. And in PvP, you can suppress enemy supers, suppress enemy abilities, and outright kill enemies fairly easily, and can be used as a nice complement to a special ammo sniper. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good description. I think the catalyst is kind of useless. It just increases the magazine or something. I don't think it increases anything else important. Maybe the handling? I forget. After that, for the Hunter Exotic, we have the Knucklehead Radar. And for the life of me, they made the ornament exactly the same. I don't really know why. If you've never heard of it, it's actually quite simple. Provides radar while you're aiming, which allows you to see your radar just like you have with Ace of Spades or Might Multi-Tool, and enhances your radar while crouch, which gives it a skinnier sliver, which in a lot of people may not actually like that. What's important to know here is that this is just something that makes sense. If you want to be able to aim at corners, you're not using Ace or Might Multi-Tool, you can oftentimes have the first shot in a lot of engagements, and it can be very useful. That being said, I don't think it's that crazy. Maybe it's like a 5 to 7 out of 10 in PvP for information stuff, but outside of that, it's pretty basic. When it comes to the stat roll, you'd like to see mobility and recovery, which it does actually have. The total stats is a little bit below average though. Up next for the Titan Exotic, we have the Doom Fang Pauldrons. And oh boy, it has a pretty cool looking ornament right here. I do like that one. Now this is actually one of my favorite exotics in the game. It used to be my #1 exotic for a long time. Ursa has kicked that out in first place, but it is still an excellent exotic with a very, very good perk. Turns Sentinel Shield into something that's okay to something that's really, really good. Firstly, void melee kills give you super energy. And I would personally recommend using Code of the Aggressor, which would mean the Shield Bash, which is decently easy to get a kill with, both in PvP and PvE. The more important part, while Sentinel Shield is active, melee kills recharge Shield Throw, and then the Shield Throw extend your super on hits. And I think it takes 3 kills with the Aggressor, with the Shield, to actually get a full shield back. So you use all of this stuff on each other, you have double Shield Throw because of this exotic and Code of the Aggressor, and you start using your shield as much as possible, allowing your super to last anywhere from 50% to infinity% longer. And you have to keep in mind, when you are in a super, you are very resistant. You are also doing a lot more damage or hitting more enemies at the same time. The longer you are in your super, the more damage, the more you can do to the environment. Now obviously stasis can freeze Sentinel Shields, which I still think is a little ridiculous even when they're blocking, which makes Sentinel Shield less effective in PvP. When it comes to the rolls, you'd like to see, I guess, recovery, mobility, and intellect. You do have intellect, you have an okay amount of mobility, but recovery is a bit poor. Average amount, I would say, around 63, 64, so an okay roll for a pretty good exotic. And finally, we have the PROMETHIUM SPUR, which actually, yeah, I believe they did actually change this. This was one of the worst exotics in the game. Look at the toes on this thing. That's disgusting. I don't know why, but like, it's just, I just realized it, you know? So it used to be where you kill people with Daybreak and they create like an empowering rift and a healing rift at the location you killed the enemies, and my opinion was like, hey, if you're killing all the enemies, wow, there is no ass on this thing at all. But if you're killing all the enemies around the battlefield, what's the point of putting rifts everywhere? So what they did was they added something on top of that. So the first part is still the same. On top of that, while standing in any rift, solar weapon final blows grant rift energy. And when your rift energy is full, final blows consume your rift energy and create a healing and empowering rift at target's location. So again, it's the same thing about like getting kills to create an empowering or healing rift at enemy locations, but it's more useful in the neutral game when you're actually not killing every enemy around the field, and this can be quite useful depending on your setup. I don't think it's going to be that great, but it's definitely a lot better than it was before. Maybe this is more like a 4 or 5 out of 10. We'll see exactly how you can use it. Maybe if you got some like 120 hand cannon benefits where you're trying to get a kill with igneous hammer, solar damage in your rift with the empowering rift to get more damage, and then you go from rift to rift with healing rift and empowering rift at the same time. But I don't know. As far as the roll goes, you'd like to see a lot of recovery because it is very rift based, so not a lot of that. Usually you want lower mobility for warlocks, but not really that bad or that high. And then intellect is nice to see, strength is nice to see if using celestial fire, etc. So I would say an okay roll for an average total stats on an exotic that has changed. We'll see how it works. That is, first of all, again, the thigh gap and the ass. Like, there's a lot to be gleaned from this current armor. Outside of that, you got a lot of different legendary weapon options. True Prophecy, this is a decent roll for these two parts for PvP stuff, although I like explosive payload and I would recommend it wholeheartedly. You've got the submachine gun escape velocity, which is kind of meh as well, although some pretty decent range options. It's a 900 RPM lightweight, which is kind of coming up in the meta. If you have the multi-mac, that is usually better. The Last Dance, I believe there is a damage perk in one of these two, so I would recommend that instead. The main ingredient, I think that there are definitely a lot better options. Hollow Words, Lead from Gold backup plan is actually a pretty good setup on this, and I would recommend this. It's probably not the best possible, but decent enough. The 7 Seraph Saw actually does have mulligan and auto-loading, which is a pretty good set of perks, although again, I think there is Rampage or damage perk here. Usually you like to see that. And then finally, Bite of the Fox, which is rapid hit, explosive payload. I guess it's more of a PvE role. If you don't know, explosive payload does increase the damage of your shots for both body and headshot, and then rapid hit also makes it so you reload faster, better stability. So this might be an okay PvE role, but I have so many snipers, I might. And again, the legendary armor, 60 total stats here is pretty good. High resilience though, and then the rest of it's just kind of average. And of course, make sure you're picking up your exotic cipher quest for basically a free exotic cipher for doing Crucible, Gambit, and Vanguard stuff, which is, you know, again, it's free. And then you can spend it on this exotic engram or on the exotic archive to get yourself an Ariana's, Bastion, etc., etc. And of course, I always recommend that you get the Synthoceps, or not the Synthoceps, sorry, this exotic engram, because it always guarantees you an exotic you've never received or a high stat roll, which 65 is a pretty high stat roll. And that is going to be pretty much the end of the video. Of course, make sure you come check out my live streams, twitch.tv/Dychronic, link in the description down below. Oftentimes doing open lobbies for raids, for the different dungeons, for pinnacles, for the seasonal stuff. Come join it. We often have a lot of fun. I say we often have a lot of fun. There are instances where we're having absolutely no fun at all. Basically, Gemini Jesters in live stream form, for sure. And of course, a big thank you to my patrons on Patreon. Specifically, a big thank you to Medi Wuju, Mom, Dad, Luco, Dr. Strange, Joe Smith, Monday, Steve Bachman, West, Raymond, Shonen, Your Panther, Casey Shade. I fit Casey Reagan, I'm sorry. That was good enough. That was so fast though.